You know what's really inconvenient? Getting abducted by aliens while trying to microwave a burrito at 3 a.m. The fluorescent lights of my kitchen had been flickering. They always did that, no matter how many times I changed them, when suddenly they started flickering harder, like a disco party gone wrong. "Oh, come on," I muttered, watching my burrito spin sadly in the microwave. "I just want my midnight snack." That's when the ceiling decided to become optional. One moment I was standing there in my rocket ship pajamas, don't judge, they're comfortable, and the next moment I was being pulled upward through a hole that definitely wasn't in my homeowner's insurance policy. The first thing I noticed in the alien spacecraft was how clean everything was. Like, unreasonably clean. The kind of clean that makes you feel guilty about that one sock under your bed you lost last month. The second thing I noticed was the clipboard-wielding alien staring at me with what I assumed was disappointment. Hard to tell with 4 eyes. "Species human status, last known specimen," the alien droned, its voice sounding like Siri having an existential crisis. "Please fill out forms X789, Y432, and Z001 for proper processing." I blinked. "You kidnapped me from my kitchen to fill out paperwork?" "Correction, this is a scheduled, non-consensual relocation for scientific purposes." The alien adjusted what appeared to be a tie. Yes, a tie on an alien. "Please use blue ink only." I was in the middle of making a burrito, I protested, still floating slightly in what must have been artificial gravity. "And I'm pretty sure I'm not the last human. I saw like 15 people at the grocery store yesterday." The alien consulted its clipboard. "According to our records, all other humans are officially classified as missing following Operation Clean Sweep." "Operation Clean Sweep? When was this?" "Approximately 4.2 minutes ago." The alien handed me a stack of papers. "Please note that Section 7B requires a detailed history of your species' development of the DAB phenomenon." I stared at the forms, then at the alien, then back at the forms. Somewhere in the distance, I swear I could hear my microwave ding. "You know what? The customer service at my cable company suddenly doesn't seem so bad." "Please refrain from unauthorized humor during the processing period," the alien said, adding another form to the stack. "And do note that any attempts at what you humans call sarcasm must be registered with the Department of Terrestrial Wit and approved comedic responses." Looking at the mountain of paperwork in my hands, I couldn't help but wonder if this was the universe's way of punishing me for all those times I didn't read the terms and conditions. At least they weren't asking for my medical history, yet. "Oh, and please complete Form M246 regarding your complete medical history." I miss my burrito already. After what felt like 12 eternities of paperwork, the alien assured me it was only 11. I was led to what they called their Advanced Species Assessment Chamber. It looked suspiciously like a middle school gymnasium decorated by someone who'd only seen sci-fi movies from the 1960s. "The tests will begin now," announced a new alien wearing what appeared to be a lab coat over its gelatinous form. This one had a name tag that read, "Dr. Zilksnacks, PhD in Primitive Species Analysis." Below that, in smaller text, "Currently accepting new patients." The first test involved pattern recognition. They projected a series of shapes onto a wall, triangle, square, circle, and asked me to predict the next shape. "Burrito," I answered immediately. "That is incorrect," Dr. Zilksnack said, tentacles twitching. "The next shape is clearly a triangle. The pattern is obvious." "Yes, but I'm hungry. You interrupted my dinner, remember?" They made a note on their hover clipboard. "Subject exhibits signs of food-related cognitive deterioration." Next came the problem-solving test. They presented me with a puzzle box containing what they called vital survival resources. It was basically an alien Rubik's Cube. "Please demonstrate how your species would access the nutrients inside." I picked up the puzzle box, examined it for exactly 2 seconds, then gently placed it on the ground and sat on it. "There. I solved it." That is not solving the puzzle," Dr. Zilksnacks protested, all 4 eyes blinking asynchronously in distress. "Sure it is. Now I have a chair and the nutrients can't escape. That's 2 problems solved at once. I believe that's what you'd call efficiency." More furious note-taking ensued. Subject displays concerning levels of innovative resourcefulness. The physical assessment was even better. They wanted to test my species' flight or fight response. A holographic predator appeared, something that looked like a cross between a T-Rex and a filing cabinet. Instead of running or fighting, I walked up to it and asked for its tax returns. This is not a valid survival response. Dr. Zilksnax was practically vibrating with frustration. The correct answer was to either engage in combat or seek immediate shelter. Listen, I said, crossing my arms, if this thing is scary enough to chase me, it's probably got a good job. If it's got a good job, it pays taxes. If it pays taxes, it has to file returns. I'm just being thorough. The psychological evaluation wasn't going any better for them. They showed me what they called emotionally provocative images, mostly pictures of what they thought Earth looked like, clearly drawn by aliens who'd only heard Earth described by other aliens who'd never been there. This is your planet being destroyed, Dr. Zilksnax said, solemnly, showing me a picture of what appeared to be a globe-shaped object covered in broccoli. How does this make you feel? Hungry for vegetables, I replied. Also, that's clearly a disco ball covered in green sparkles. Our planet has way more pizza restaurants. By the end of the assessment, Dr. Zilksnax had gone through 3 hover clipboards and what I assumed was the alien equivalent of a stress ball. The final notes, which I managed to peek at, read, "Subject exhibits unprecedented levels of behavioral abnormality, possibly the most sophisticated defense mechanism encountered in 700 cycles. Or just completely broken. Further study required." They hadn't even gotten to the part where I tried to teach them about memes. I was saving that for special occasions, like being threatened with dissection. "Assessment complete," Dr. Zilksnax announced, voice wavering slightly. "Subject is..." They paused, all appendages drooping. "I don't actually know what you are." "I'm someone who still wants their burrito," I replied cheerfully. "Also, your lab coat is on backwards." The room looked like someone had watched too many Star Wars movies and decided to make the Senate chamber even more ridiculous. Floating platforms carried various alien delegations in what was clearly an overcompensating display of anti-gravity technology. I stood on the central platform, still wearing my rocket ship pajamas, which had somehow become my official diplomatic attire. "Esteemed members of the Council," announced High Chancellor Quiblix, a being that looked like a cross between a jellyfish and a chandelier. "We present to you the last known human specimen, captured during Operation Clean Sweep." "For the last time," I interrupted, "I was making a burrito. That's not an operation. That's a midnight snack." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Apparently interrupting the High Chancellor was some kind of taboo. Good to know. I made a mental note to do it more often. A delegate from the Proxima Centauri system resembling an origami butterfly made of living crystal spoke first. "We have studied their primary communication method, this internet. Our analysis suggests humans worship cats and something called memes." "Oh yes," I said solemnly. "Each household must maintain at least 3 cat videos and a collection of rare pepes. It's the law." The delegate's crystalline form sparkled with excitement. "See? Our research was correct. Make note of this crucial cultural insight." Another delegate, this one looking like a sentient cloud of sparkles, chimed in. "We have observed their ritual of social media. They appear to communicate entirely in pictures of their meals and something called selfies." "Absolutely," I agreed. "In fact, if you don't post a picture of your food, you're legally not allowed to eat it. And every selfie adds 1 year to your life. Basic human science." The chamber erupted in furious note-taking. A particularly pompous-looking alien, whose species apparently evolved from what I could only describe as corporate middle managers, raised a tentacle. "What about this mysterious force they call FOMO? Our researchers suggest it's some kind of psychological weapon." "Oh, that's our most powerful technology," I said, trying not to laugh. "Fear of missing out drives our entire civilization. Right now, I'm experiencing extreme FOMO about my microwave burrito." "Fascinating," shouted someone from the back. "They've weaponized anxiety." The High Chancellor waved his bioluminescent appendages for order. "We must discuss their most perplexing ritual, this thing called dancing. Our footage shows humans moving erratically to rhythmic sounds, often in large groups." "Would you like a demonstration?" I asked innocently. Before anyone could stop me, I launched into the most comprehensive performance of outdated dance moves ever witnessed by alien eyes. The Macarena seamlessly flowed into the robot, which several robotic delegates found deeply offensive, followed by a flawless rendition of the chicken dance. "This is clearly some form of combat training," declared one alarmed delegate. Not at all, I corrected them. This is how we choose our political leaders. The one with the best dance moves becomes president. The council chamber descended into chaos as various delegates argued about the implications of dance-based governance. An alien that looked like a floating library spoke next. We must address their most dangerous weapon, this sarcasm. Our linguists still cannot detect it reliably. Oh yeah, we're terrifying, I deadpanned. Sometimes we say things we don't actually mean. The horror. Half the chamber nodded sagely while the other half looked utterly confused. And what about this rick-rolling phenomenon? Asked a concerned-looking being made entirely of what appeared to be living math equations. Is it some form of population control? I cleared my throat. Never gonna give you up. Silence, shouted High Chancellor Quiblix. The specimen is clearly attempting to deploy sonic warfare. The chamber erupted again, this time with various species either trying to cover their auditory organs or demanding I continue the ancient human battle cry. Order, we must maintain order. The High Chancellor's bioluminescence was reaching strobe-light levels of distress. We haven't even addressed their most mysterious practice, this weekend brunch. Now that, I said gravely, is classified information. I'd need at least 3 mimosas before I could even begin to explain that ritual. As the council dissolved into arguments about human culture, with some delegates already attempting to recreate the Macarena with varying degrees of anatomical success, I couldn't help but smile. If they thought this was bad, wait until I told them about pineapple on pizza. The High Chancellor's glow had dimmed to a frustrated flicker. Perhaps we should take a brief recess to process this information. Good idea, I agreed. I hear Mercury has great bottomless brunch deals this time of year. After the council meeting disaster, they locked me in what they called a maximum security relaxation chamber. Jokes on them. They forgot to check my pajama pockets. Inside, I had my emergency coffee packet. Every human knows you don't go anywhere without pocket coffee. It's like rule number 1 of being human. Subject appears to be removing some form of powdered substance, announced the security AI. Analyzing. I grinned at the camera. Oh, this is just the most addictive substance on Earth. That got their attention. Within seconds, Dr. Zilksnacks and 3 security aliens burst into the room. The security aliens looked like bodybuilder penguins wearing tactical gear. Surrender the contraband, Dr. Zilksnacks demanded, waving some sort of scanner at me. It's just coffee, I said, already ripping open the packet. Want to see what it does? Do not consume the unknown substance. Too late, I dumped the entire packet in my mouth, dry. The aliens watched in horror as I performed what they probably assumed was ritual suicide by powder. The effects were immediate. My eyes went wide, my hands started shaking, and I began talking at approximately 700 words per minute about random Earth topics. Did you know that platypuses glow under UV light and also sweat milk? And technically that means they're walking glow-stick smoothies. And speaking of smoothies, did you know that bananas are berries but strawberries aren't actually berries at all, and neither are raspberries? And containment breach, screamed one of the security penguins. The human has achieved hyperspeed verbal capabilities. I used their confusion to bolt past them, running down the corridor while still rambling. And octopuses have 3 hearts, but blue whales have the biggest hearts of any animal, and hearts don't actually look like the heart shape we draw, which was actually based on an extinct plant called silphium. The specimen has gone completely feral, Dr. Zilksnacks shouted into some kind of communicator. Lock down all coffee-related facilities. I skidded around a corner, finding myself in what appeared to be a food court. Perfect. I jumped behind a counter and started pressing every button I could find on their drink dispensers. Warning, announced the station AI, unknown beverage combinations being created. Probability of flavor singularity, 87%. Aliens were running everywhere, some trying to catch me, others just trying to escape the chaos. I had created at least 12 new forms of space coffee, 3 of which were violating the laws of physics. How is it still talking? Shouted someone as I sprinted past, still on my coffee-fueled monologue. Did you know that honey never expires, and they found honey in Egyptian tombs that was still good? And speaking of Egypt, the pyramids were built from top to bottom, not bottom to top, and the station's gravity started fluctuating from all the energy I was generating. Aliens floated helplessly as I bounced off walls, my coffee powers reaching critical levels. Finally, Dr. Zilksnax managed to corner me in the station's arboretum. "Please," they begged, "no more Earth facts." I smiled maniacally. "Did you know that bananas are slightly radioactive and humans eat so many bananas, we actually have a measurement called the banana equivalent dose for radiation?" That's when the banana facts broke them. Dr. Zilksnax fainted dead away, their clipboard floating off into the artificial sunset. Of course, I didn't actually escape. That was never the point. I just wanted to show them what one human with a packet of coffee could do to their entire space station. Also, I really needed the caffeine boost. As security finally managed to contain me, they used a net made of what looked like space bubble wrap. I heard Dr. Zilksnax mutter, "Note to self, humans are to be kept at least 50 parsecs away from all forms of caffeine." After my coffee-powered rampage, the aliens decided to hold another emergency council session. This time they put me in what they called a quantum containment chair, which was basically a floating beanbag with handcuffs. "This human represents a greater threat than we imagined," High Chancellor Quiblix announced to the council. "Not only did they weaponize a simple beverage, but our deep space scanners have detected unusual signals coming from Earth's direction." I perked up. "Oh, those are probably just the memes." "The what?" asked several aliens simultaneously. "You know, memes, the true language of human civilization. Here, I'll show you." I gestured to their holographic display system. "May I?" They should have known better, but curiosity got the better of them. Dr. Zilksnax, still twitching from the coffee incident, reluctantly gave me access to their display. "This," I said, pulling up an image, "is a cat asking for cheeseburgers with purposefully incorrect spelling." The council stared in bewilderment. "And this is a frog on a unicycle." "But why?" asked the crystalline delegate. "That's the neat part. There is no why. That's what makes it funny." As I continued my masterclass in meme culture, something strange happened. The aliens' own communication systems started displaying similar patterns. "What's happening?" demanded High Chancellor Quiblix as their screens filled with badly spelled cat pictures. "Oh no," I gasped in mock horror. "It's spreading." That's when the real truth came out. One of their communication officers, a being that looked like a desktop computer, had merged with a jellyfish, burst into the chamber. "Chancellor, we're detecting millions of similar signals from all over the galaxy." I couldn't help but grin. "Did you really think you got all of us? Humans are like glitter. We get everywhere and you can never completely get rid of us." The council erupted into chaos as more reports flooded in. Humans had been hiding in plain sight across the galaxy, disguised as various alien species. That grumpy Venusian barista, human in a heat suit. The Martian stand-up comedian, human in red body paint. That weird Jovian who kept making references no one understood. You guessed it. But Operation Clean Sweep," stammered Dr. Zilksnax. "Was an epic prank, my dear doctor," I explained. "We knew you were coming. We've known for years. Why do you think we flooded our communications with cat videos and memes? We were vaccinating the galaxy against taking itself too seriously." The evidence was undeniable. Across the galaxy, humans were revealing themselves through the ultimate authentication method, perfectly timed references to long-dead vines. This was all a test. The High Chancellor's bioluminescence had dimmed to a confused nightlight. "Well, technically it was a social experiment," I corrected. "For the vine, as we used to say. Also, we needed to know if you all could take a joke before we officially said hello." "But the paperwork, the forms," Dr. Zilksnax looked close to fainting again. "Oh, I filled those out completely wrong, by the way. Check form Z001. I drew nothing but pictures of that duck that keeps asking for grapes." As if on cue, the station's communication system started playing "Never Gonna Give You Up." "You have to admire the commitment," I added. "We spent decades infiltrating alien societies just to set up the galaxy's biggest rickroll." The council sat in stunned silence as screens throughout the chamber filled with every meme humans had ever created. Somewhere, someone was playing All Star by Smash Mouth. "Chancellor," asked one of the delegates weakly, "what do we do now?" High Chancellor Quiblix stared at a screen displaying Nyan Cat. I suppose we've been culturally outmaneuvered." "And look on the bright side," I offered. "You now have access to our greatest technological achievement, unlimited entertainment through systematized absurdity." "Is that what humanity has been doing all this time?" Dr. Zilksnax asked. "Spreading comedic chaos through the galaxy?" "That, and we really wanted to know if aliens would vibe with our sense of humor. Consider this humanity's application to join the galactic community. We come bearing gifts of coffee and cat videos. The council chamber had devolved into various alien species attempting to explain memes to each other. A group of Andromedans were already trying to recreate the Harlem Shake. Oh, and one more thing, I added, pulling out my phone. This whole session, live-streamed. We're trending on space Twitter. The council chamber descended into beautiful chaos as humans began revealing themselves everywhere. The stern-looking security guard removed his helmet to reveal he'd been wearing Groucho Marx glasses underneath the whole time. The council's primary translator pulled off what turned out to be an incredibly convincing rubber mask while humming the Mission Impossible theme. "Wait," Dr. Zilksnacks gasped, pointing at their own assistant. "Don't tell me." The assistant grinned, wiping off their green makeup. "I've been making your coffee wrong on purpose for 3 years, Doc. That's why it tasted like burnt rubber. It was actually just heated up grape juice." High Chancellor Quiblix's bioluminescence flickered in what looked like an aneurysm. But you're married to my nephew." "Oh, he knows," the assistant said cheerfully. "He's human too. Those tentacles are just really fancy pool noodles." Across the chamber, more revelations kept coming. The Andromeda sector's interpretive dance instructor turned out to be 3 humans in a trench coat. The galaxy's leading expert on quantum physics was actually a human who'd been answering every question with, "because that's what the quantum wants," for the past decade. "This explains so much," muttered a Neptunian delegate, "like why the Galactic Olympic Committee kept adding new sports involving things called yeet and dab. I stood up on my floating beanbag chair prison. "My fellow humans, I believe it's time for Protocol Rickroll Romeo." Immediately, every hidden human in the chamber broke into perfect synchronization, performing the most elaborate flash mob the galaxy had ever seen. We're talking backup dancers, costume changes, and someone had somehow smuggled in a whole lighting rig. Is this an attack?" asked a concerned alien delegate. "Nah," I replied, now wearing sunglasses that had appeared from nowhere. "This is what we call entertainment." As the flash mob reached its crescendo, more humans began appearing on the video screens, operators from space stations, ambassadors from distant colonies, and even a guy who'd been pretending to be a sentient gas cloud on Jupiter for the past 5 years. "To be fair," Gas Cloud Guy explained, "nobody actually asked if I was a cloud. They just assumed, and I didn't want to be rude." The aliens watched in a mixture of horror and fascination as we demonstrated other classic human pranks. The whoopee cushion got a standing ovation from a species that communicated entirely through controlled gaseous emissions. The joy buzzer was immediately classified as a Class 3 diplomatic incident, mostly because it gave the High Chancellor hiccups that made them glow like a disco ball. "But why?" Dr. Zilksnacks asked, still clutching their clipboard like a security blanket. "Why go to all this trouble?" "Doctor," I said solemnly, "have you ever heard of something called a long con?" Before they could answer, every screen in the chamber suddenly displayed the same image, a carefully preserved screenshot of the original planning meeting from years ago. The file name? Operation. That's what she said. The High Chancellor squinted at the date stamp. "This was planned before we even made first contact." "You could say we." I paused for dramatic effect, putting on a second pair of sunglasses over my first pair, came prepared. Somewhere a human played a sound effect that went, "Yeah!" That's when something unexpected happened. One of the alien delegates started laughing, then another. Soon, the entire chamber was filled with various forms of alien mirth, from crystalline chiming to subsonic rumbles. "You know what?" High Chancellor Quiblix said, their glow now a warm, amused purple. "This might be the most impressive first contact strategy we've ever encountered." "Really?" asked several humans simultaneously. "Most species try to impress us with technology or culture or military might," the Chancellor explained. "You're the first to ever try to make us laugh." Dr. Zilksnacks was furiously scribbling notes. "A society that values humor over intimidation, that uses pranks as diplomatic tools, that turns infiltration into entertainment. And makes really good burritos," I added helpfully. "Speaking of which," the Chancellor said, "perhaps we should discuss formal diplomatic relations. Over food? I believe there's this human tradition called brunch." The chamber erupted in cheers. Humans started pulling out waffle makers from increasingly improbable hiding places. Someone had secretly converted an entire storage bay into a mimosa bar 3 years ago, just in case. As the impromptu celebration began, Dr. Zilksnacks approached me with one final question. Was any part of our research on humans actually accurate? I patted them on what I hoped was their shoulder. The part about us being completely unpredictable, that was spot on. The Galactic Council chambers looked quite different these days. For one thing, the floating platforms had been replaced with beanbag chairs, anti-gravity of course. For another, the Wall of Ancient Treaties had been updated to include the right to meme as a fundamental galactic freedom. Dr. Zilksnacks, now the head of the newly established Department of Human Studies and Applied Humor, was giving their quarterly presentation. And as you can see, they said, pointing to a holographic chart, implementation of mandatory humor training has reduced diplomatic incidents by 73%, though we did have that unfortunate incident when someone introduced the Rigelians to dad jokes. The chamber shuddered collectively. We don't talk about the great pun war of 2024. I sat in my official position as Earth's ambassador, still wearing rocket ship pajamas, now formally recognized as Earth's diplomatic uniform. Next to me, High Chancellor Quiblix was trying to master the art of the fist bump. In conclusion, Dr. Zilksnacks continued, the human integration program has been largely successful, though we're still trying to understand why they insist on putting tiny paper umbrellas in every beverage. Because it's funny, called out half the chamber. The galaxy had changed in unexpected ways. The intergalactic internet was now 90% cat videos. The previously stuffy galactic senate meetings now ended with karaoke. Even the Vulcanoid species had developed a surprisingly good sense of humor, though they were still struggling with the concept of, that's what she said. As the meeting wrapped up, High Chancellor Quiblix made one final announcement. And remember, next week is the first annual galactic meme competition. Please note that rickrolling has been banned after last month's incident that crashed the entire Andromeda sector's network. I smiled, remembering how humanity had finally officially joined the galactic community. The entry requirement, making the entire council do the Macarena. As everyone filed out, Dr. Zilksnacks approached me with their ever-present clipboard. Just one more question for my research. Have we humans figured out yet? What do you mean? Well, every time we think we understand humans, they do something completely unexpected. Are you doing it on purpose? I grinned and leaned in close. That's the neat part, Doc. Half the time, we don't know what we're going to do either. We just wing it and hope it works out. They stared at me in horror. You mean there's no master plan? Never has been, I said, putting on my sunglasses. But don't worry. I hear next week's mandatory fun day involves teaching the entire council how to Gangnam Style. As Dr. Zilksnacks fainted for the 47th time this year, I couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, this was humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy, the art of not taking yourself too seriously. And yes, I finally got my burrito.